Hello everyone and welcome back to Cardo Gaming. You guys absolutely killed the original video, so I thought, you know what, I'll give back to you all, as a thank you, a sequel to that video. I had so much fun reading every single comment and replying to as many as I could. I absolutely loved reading all of your guys' opinions on the Jak trilogy and how you guys first got started on the series. I made the video a while ago now, then out of nowhere, it suddenly just blew up. All of the support and stories from you guys about the Jak games made me want to go through them all over again. And like, all of them this time. And that's actually what I did. I revisited and reviewed every single Jak game. So I figured, while it's still fresh in my memory, I'll be talking about and ranking the Jak and Daxter games in order to decide what is my personal favourite and the very best Jak and Daxter game. Now, just like the last time we did this, I encourage you all to share your own stories and opinions of the games. It's so much fun reading when you all started and what your favourite game is, and even the least favourite. Heck, I'm even prepared to see people telling me why they love The Lost Frontier and that the majority who dislike it are wrong. I'm so ready to read that, you might even change some people's minds. But just like before, I ask no matter what your opinion is, please remain kind in the comment section. If you hate my ranking, that's perfectly fine. It's my own opinion, and I both welcome and support you having your own opinion too. Like I said, I'd love for you to tell me why I'm wrong and provide your own list. I read them all, but still, please remain kind and considerate. Just like replying to others' comments. If somebody says that they like Daxter the most, you can disagree with them, you can even start a healthy debate, but you don't have to hate them for something that they enjoy. Right, I think I got the point across. I'm not meaning to sound like I'm having a lecture here. This is a thank you for all of the support on the last video, and a project I decided I really wanted to do when I began replaying them all a few months ago. I've captured my gameplay from all 6 Jak games, and it's hoarding up a huge portion of my storage. Bear in mind, most of the clips are hours long, and I have 6 full games recorded. So as a final hurrah, before I delete all of my footage for spacing issues, let's begin this extreme Cardo review by ranking all 6 Jak and Daxter games. Now, coming in as the worst Jak and Daxter game, it has to be Jak 2. No, I'm joking. I'm really sorry, okay? We all know what's going to be the worst game, but before we do that, I have to touch on this series as a whole. But as I've already basically did that the first time around, it's going to be really brief. So if you haven't seen the first video, I really recommend you pause this one and check the first one out first. It's old and not as well formatted and structured as this one, and I've gained a load more confidence since then, so pardon that. But I still think it's worth watching before going any further into this video. Right, welcome back, or thank you for sticking around. Let's start with Naughty Dog's first game into this series. Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. Jak 1 is a special little gem. In a way, it was a one-off. Yeah, the next 2 after this might appear to look the same, but they offer and provide something completely different. Jak 1 was a huge open-world collectathon. It started with a story that branched many questions for the player. Like, what happened to Daxter? Why did he change? Who are these guys? Why is Seymour so grouchy?
Where are a boy and a half going to get 20 power cells?
Why is Kira like this? But before answering any of those questions, it gives you some small instructions and sends you off out into the world. You know you need to collect power cells to power a zoomer, and you get told a few ways of how to find or obtain power cells, but it never holds your hand straight to them. It's an open sandbox that has these items sometimes lying around and sometimes behind a minigame. It lets the player choose your path, but it has a way of branching it all together. Certain areas open new opportunities. Take the sculptor for example. He tells you that he's lost his mule. He thinks it's on Misty Island, but has no way of getting there. The game never holds your hand and teaches you how to get there. I'm sure there's some players out there who didn't even know that you can get there, as it's completely missable. If you don't go and interact or help the fisherman in another area, you'll never receive his boat that takes you to Misty Island. But it's when beating it that you gain the boat. If you didn't bother, or couldn't do it for some reason, you'd never know about Misty Island being accessible.
Here comes a big one. You did it! You caught 200 pounds of a big one. Not bad for a couple of landlubbers. Here's the big one I promised.
Anyway, you can also collect Precursor Orbs that are all over the place. These are used to trade for power cells, but you get left with loads by the end of the game, so they're really just there for completionists to go back through the open world and find each and every one of them. There's an extra ending for finding all of the power cells, but it's very lackluster. Jak is a mute, which I mentioned in the first video, but I need to bring up again as that changes, so it's important to mention it. Jak can also harness powers of Eco that have a few different abilities. Blue Eco opens up certain doors and plates, and it also speeds up Jak's run. Yellow Eco is a blasting attack that's pretty strong. Red Eco just enhances Jak's strength, allowing previous 2-hit enemies to now be a 1-hit. Green Eco controls health, and even White Eco used at the end of the game. Sorry guys, editing Cardo here. I meant light eco, not white eco. I mean, there's a debate on that, but Daxter definitely says light eco, so I meant light eco.
Light eco! It does exist! They must not be allowed to get it! Light eco! That could be the stuff to chain me back! Or, it might stop that robot.
Again, that's something I'm briefly touching on, but will be important by the end of this video. So it's a really strong start. A huge open world containing all sorts of different environments to discover that has no loading screens, so no immersion breaking. A strong story, some very strong platforming, and some nice, easy basic attacks. There's a fun completionist goal to collect as many as you can and one day collect everything, with one of the best soundtracks known to video games. So why did I say it's one of a kind? Well, as Jak fans, you already know the answer. It's because of all the huge changes Jak 2 makes. So let's dive into Jak 2.
Do something!
Today's the big day, Jak. I hope you are prepared for whatever happens.
Starting off where the first ended, it's revealed that behind the secret cutscene door was a giant rift/teleport vehicle device thing. I don't know what it's called, but after inspecting it, the portal opens with a quick activation. Jak and co are blasted off through it, all getting thrown off into their own parts of a new city, which we will later learn is Haven City. Jak and Daxter land together, but it's not long before Jak gets arrested and Daxter runs away for his own title, which in this video we actually get to cover. 2 years then pass and we see Jak getting tested on. His hair's all grown and he's rocking a goatee. We find out he's being injected with Dark Eco, which can now turn him into Dark Jak. We'll touch on that before we move on to the rest. Dark Jak, in my opinion, is so unutilized. He's not really given a story arc or a main focus after the start. Jak's more angry and the others fear him a bit more, but Jak could have and should have been the same, with the others fearing moments of Dark Jak. But never mind, we have to just look at what we have. And Dark Jak plays kind of like a loose cannon. He shoots off in all directions and only really used by me, at least when I was in some real trouble, or to cheat one of the hardest levels to become one of the easiest. He gets some upgrades throughout the game, but again, they're not really story related. It's all just kind of, here, trade these metalheads for this item to then use it, but then they don't acknowledge it. So I guess it doesn't matter. I guess I didn't use them as much because there was a meter that filled with Dark Eco. Once you used them, that was it until it refilled. So I never really wanted to use him at the wrong time. I always kept on saving him because I never really knew when the right time to use him was. Anyway, throwing it back to when we were at the prison, Jak actually talks for the first time, and I really like it. It brings life a whole new character to Jak and allows him to mix with Daxter's witty humour. The duo bounce off each other perfectly. Once you break out of the prison, you are thrown into the open world of Haven City, where you'll see that it is very different to the world of Jak 1. There isn't Precursor Orbs everywhere, instead they are hidden. There's no power cells at all, unfortunately, but there's a nice Easter egg at the start. You can hijack zoomers flying overhead, and you'll notice that a map this time, and mission markers. Yep, this game adds actual missions that open up a huge story, because yes, Jak 1 had a story, but it was more like a goal to change Daxter back, whilst learning bits here and there. This time, it's a full story, with hours of cutscenes and characters to interact with. You meet loads of new faces who grow on to be icons of the series. This time around, the eco powers are completely gone and Jak gets guns. Yes, actual guns. This is a huge change from Jak 1, but once you adapt to it, it's a welcome change. There's 4 different models to get a hold of throughout the adventure. The story is huge, dipping into time travel and having one of the best plot twists I've ever experienced.
Is that? No, it couldn't be. That's not...
It's Samos's hut.
But what? How? When? Where? Why?
We're in the future, Dax. This horrible place is our world.
There's lots of new gameplay features like riding around on a hoverboard, zoomer races, briefly playing as Daxter, and of course the whole guns. Jak 2 is a great game, let down in my own personal opinion by its insane difficulty spikes. I'm not saying the game is impossible to beat, but you can be casually playing it, and then the next moment it's like you're slapped in the face by some certain mission and you'll be forced to try over and over and over. There's genuinely no excuse for the spikes in difficulty. It's not like it gets progressively harder the later you get into it. One mission can be easy, and then the next mission impossible, and then the one after that, easy again. It's mad, but still a great game, just brought down by that. Lastly, in the original trilogy, Naughty Dog attempted to fix the minor flaws from Jak 2, giving us Jak 3. Rather than the majority of the game being so dark, Jak's now banished to the wasteland, which is all bright and sunny. The story is really good, but it doesn't contain as many twists and shocks as 2 did. You can see a lot of the twists coming before they do, but the story is really good and completes the series well. Whether you like the big twists or not, you still have to admire them for doing it.
Oh my god.
The gameplay is made much easier than Jak 2, and its difficulty is toned down, and with the same weapons, it would be perfect match. But Jak 3 adds 2 new upgrades to every single weapon from Jak 2, turning them all into overpowered god weapons. Like one is an actual nuke. While the yellow rifle now reflects bullets everywhere. Jak 3 expands on all of the characters from Jak 2, while sadly letting a few slip. But don't worry, they'll fix on that later. Dark Jak is back with some new moves. Sadly, again, he's not utilised well in the story. On the other hand of the spectrum though, Light Jak is introduced. Light Jak adds a whole new list of abilities. Jak can now glide with wings, slow down time, create a shield, and even heal himself, making it even easier than it already was. Now it's not just the desert that you're stuck in. Jak finally gets back to Haven City, and it's completely changed due to the Baron's Tower being blown down. Huge chunks are blocked off, whilst others, such as the beautiful gardens, have been completely taken over by the metalheads. It's honestly incredible comparing the 2 areas, and unbelievable that they are the same. Overall, I really do enjoy Jak 3 the most, of the original trilogy, as to me, it offers so much fun gameplay styles that when the story is over, you can make your own adventures and stories. At least, that's what I always used to do. I failed to mention the fact that you can ride around in the desert, not just on the returning jet board, but on a whole heap of different vehicles that are all unique and really fun to use. Why did I quickly add the mention of vehicles? That's obvious, because we're going to be having a nice little segue into the next title, which is Jak X.
If there's one thing I can do, it's race.
Jak X is a direct sequel from the original trilogy, reuniting all of the characters we know and love, those who we thought were gone, to create this massive story. Jak and co all get poisoned by Crew, and technically his daughter, though they don't know that she was in on it. They all have to compete in the Crash City Championship in order to gain the cure. That's the basic story, but there's a lot of twists and some really nice returning characters that mix it up a bit. The gameplay is not your average Jak and Daxter gameplay at all. It's all fully driving from Jak 3, but enhanced. You get weapons that both attack and defense, and Eco is reintroduced. Blue Eco is of course the turbo speed boosts, and green heals you. You can also build up a dark meter, which I personally like to call Dark Jak. It enhances your weapons to be even more powerful than before. I love Jak X, but I have to be fully honest, it's very repetitive. It contains about 6 different modes, but 3 of those all feel the same, while the others that are different break the immersion for me. Like the artifact collection races, they don't do it for me, but it's really nice to see the power cells back. Jak X also has a cliffhanger that sadly never bothers to be continued or explained. So Naughty Dog's final game was a racing one. Nothing like repeating something that worked perfectly before, I guess. I really enjoyed Jak X. It's just always been difficult to compare it to the original trilogy because it's so different. So the way I will be comparing all of these is by my overall enjoyment of them. I'll try not to compare the gameplay, more so on how much I enjoyed it and its story. On to the next Jak and Daxter game that wasn't actually a Jak game, and it also wasn't even made by Naughty Dog. Exclusively to the PSP system, Daxter is a game that is supposed to answer the questions and fill in the gaps on what Daxter was doing for 2 years whilst Jak was being experimented on. And it starts off promising, till it then also does the same 2-year time skip. Quote, almost. This is a terrible choice to do because I don't know about you, but I still want to know what Daxter did straight after losing Jak and being stranded in this huge city, completely lost and alone. But going off what we were given, we see Daxter telling stories in a bar in which Osmo recruits him to be a bug exterminator. This is what you'll be doing for most of the game, hopping around different areas, exterminating metal-headed bugs. And there's a whole range of those creepy things. It's a really fun game. It's just a shame and brought down by the fact that it didn't start trying to force itself into the main Jak storyline until quite late into the game. Like, something that really annoys me is he completely forgot about Jak until he saw him. Like, how long could that have gone on for? It ties nicely into 2 and 3 though, and when it's really trying, like showing you Count Vega talking to Errol about Jak, it's really good. And it's nice to see Daxter finding Jak's clothes and running around a small portion of Haven City and the Baron's Palace. Once you've completed the story, you can go back and find all the Precursor Orbs, which sadly don't do much this time around. Or you can play for a better score in the new Dream-styled levels. They're spins on classic movies that provide a new style of fun, addicting gameplay. If you've got gold, then you'll gain a new outfit for Daxter, like his iconic pants for example. Overall, Daxter is a nice little spin-off title that I value for what it did. I really did enjoy playing this all the time growing up. It's not bad, but it's not perfect. Which leaves me with the final Jak and Daxter installment that is called Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier.
Well, look what we've got here.
Where's Kira?
She's being entertained by the captain, if you know what I mean.
Phoenix!
Jak! You shouldn't have come here.
On the contrary, now this monster has a chance to see this monster.
This to me really isn't a Jak and Daxter game, but it still can be an enjoyable title. It's just sad to think of it as a Jak and Daxter game. Jak's voice actor has been completely changed, and both him and Kira don't look anything like what they used to do. The story revolves around the heroes on a quest to find more eco, as the world has slowly started to run out. This is a really good story, and it takes Jak and co to the brink of the world. The end of the world where the Precursors just didn't build anymore. What could have been such a fantastic, beautiful new open area was sadly downgraded by the fact that each area you explore is its own island that you then have to leave, rather than them all being one connected world like the previous games. The overall gameplay of Jak is very different from how he played before. He's a lot more stiff this time around, and you can see that the devs did try to make him still feel like Jak, but he can no longer do his iconic roll or crouching. You also get given a staff that's always out no matter what. This annoys me so much. You attach the weapon mods onto the staff and we're back to 4 again, with a new one being an acidic grenade launcher. The fact that the weapon's attached to the staff doesn't annoy me, it's the fact that you can never put it away that does. It always looks so stiff and annoying. Just a simple put away animation would give Jak more of his feel from the original. Before we touch on the main problem of the game, let's keep with talking about Jak. His basic gameplay is stiff and jagged, but this time around they reintroduced eco powers from the first game. Interacting with Kira will allow you to gain new eco power upgrades, but along the adventure you'll be granted new eco abilities. I won't go full into depth, as I already did in my Lost Frontier review, which I'll play a clip from that now. A red eco amplifier. This allows Jak to emit out of his hand a giant red ball. The second eco power, I call this one the Diamond Head. It's basically a green eco construct, granting Jak the ability to summon green crystals from the ground on command, and then when standing over some shards of it, can create multiple crystals that will act as a path for Jak rocket jump. This one is basically, as it says in the name, it grants Jak a temporary boost in the air and glides him down slowly. It is blue eco that slows down time. Watch the rest and obviously me explain each of the powers. The link to the video will be in the description. It will be next to Jak and Daxter The Lost Frontier 2020 review. Thank you everybody. Back to the original video. It's really fun playing around with all these eco powers, and I like how it links back to Jak 1, but the absolute worst part of this game is the aerial combat. You're in a ship for about 65% of the game's duration, and not only does it suck completely, it feels nothing like a Jak and Daxter game. The segments always drag on and stay for far too long than they should, and you're required to use it to move from one location to the other. Not even to mention those darn loading screens each time that you land and take off from a location. It's not fun, and it's one of the main reasons I really don't like this game. I heavily believe that if it didn't have any aerial combat, or at least nowhere near as much of it, this game would have been better. The core grounded gameplay is fun when you get used to it and forget about the others, but you're always dragged back into the ship, and when you're not in the ship, you have to deal with the mess that is Dark Daxter. What an absolutely terrible idea that is. Such a boring gameplay feature that, in fairness, doesn't last long, but is so tacked on and pointless, it ruins the lore and the whole point of the game. Jak can't go Dark Jak because the eco is unstable, but yet somehow Daxter can when he gets angry.
No, Jak! Eco is too unstable!
Don't eat me! Don't eat me! Don't eat me!
I'll eat you!
Hey Dax, putting on some pounds.
I don't like the sound of your voice.
It's so stupid, and I honestly can't stand it. It's so sad that Dark and Light Jak aren't in this game, but if you ask me, they had a lucky escape. Well then, that was the Jak games explained as briefly as I could. Now it's time to list them in a final ranking order. At the very last place is obviously Jak and Daxter The Lost Frontier. When its gameplay is grounded and the past is forgotten, it's a fun experience. But when you think about the past, you enter the ship, you get forced to play as Dark Daxter, and you find out that Mike Irwin was supposed to voice Jak in this one, but then didn't. It leaves you with enough disgust and anger to never touch this game again.
Oh, if you have this, then...
The robot's history.
Oh, grand! But I fail to see why their programming keeps going loony. After all, I use my own brain as a model. Oh, there you go! Oh, I'll miss you, boys. It's nice to have faces to go with the voices.
You want to come with us? Off the island, I mean.
No! Oh, no. I've got inventions to tend to. Besides, it's far too dangerous out there.
Well, then we'll come back for you. When you're ready. Yeah, one motor coming up.
That's what you get for messing with the demolition duo, you stupid robot!
Which is why it is at the very bottom of my list. Surprisingly, at number 5, I have to put Jak X there. Now, its story is brilliant, and the gameplay can be really fun and addicting, but it's due to its constant repetition and overall lack of things to do after you've beaten the main story that makes it to number 5. But mark my words, it's not a bad game at all. Now, just short of the top 3, Daxter makes its way to number 4. A really nice game that adds story to the perfect trilogy whilst forming some good additions to Link, but it also retcons a fair amount of stuff. Like, we still don't know what Daxter was up to for so long. He should have already warned Jak about who was waiting for them both outside of the prison as well, because he was literally told about it. And it really bugs me, see what I did there, that he forgot about Jak. But on the whole, a really fun, unique game with a banging soundtrack, making it a comfy number 4. Surprisingly for many, and sure to stir up some comments, Jak 2 starts off my number 3. A fantastically made game, introducing some brilliant characters, a whole new world, and technically a new Jak, while still remaining the same charm from the first game. Brought down for me not only by its difficulty, but from when I first got my hands on it. This was the last Jak game from the first 5 that I had actually played, and it's the one I've played the least. Maybe with some more replays, it might have been listed higher, but as I've played the others more and hold a higher memory and overall enjoyment of them, Jak 2 is going to have to sit comfortably at the number 3 spot. Do remember, it's just my personal opinion, Jak 2 is still great. I just prefer 1 and 3 over it. But moving on to my number 2 spot is Jak and Daxter the Precursor Legacy. An absolutely fantastic game. I love this one to death. I've replayed it the most, collecting everything. I know exactly where it all is, and I play it to 100% at least once every other year. Everything about this one brings joy to me, whether it's the vast locations, the addicting collecting, or the beautiful soundtrack. Jak 1 is just so close to being number 1, but it doesn't quite make it. Which leads me with the only game I have left, and that is Jak 3. Yep, even still to this day, Jak 3 is my favourite. I love the story, I love the open world, both Haven City and the Wasteland. I enjoyed making my own story, and after I've beaten the game, tearing around the Wasteland on the hoverboard, or tagging alongside the Haven City guards, helping fight off the remaining metalheads, Jak 3 is the game that I have played the most, and the one that I can just sit there for hours after completion and just find things to do. Light Jak is a fantastic addition that keeps me playing, and the extras that allow for unlimited Light Jak and unlimited ammo provide so much more fun. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the huge Cardo review of the Jak games, covering them all. As I said at the start, let me know your lists and your thoughts on the Jak games. Did you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section. All I ask is to be kind. If you made it this far, please comment below Jak 4 for PS5, and if you enjoyed the video, please could you drop it a like, as it's taken me ages to script and edit this video, as well as make the thumbnail. I'd really appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe to join the Cardo army, and can we get 900 subscribers soon? There's plenty of new content coming soon. We're going to be covering Crash 4, Ben 10's new game, Nickelodeon Kart Racers, Watch Dogs Legion, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and even Call of Duty Cold War. So there's plenty to do and plenty of content to come very, very soon. Anyway, this has been Cardo Gaming. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and goodbye for now.